I survived a horror bank robbery.
It's strange, isn't it? How you could be living your life, thinking everything's normal, and then BM! In the blink of an eye, everything flips upside down. That's what happened to me that day. I'll never forget the moment it started, though. How it felt like the air itself changed. It was the sound of the door opening, but it wasn't the usual ding of the bell overhead. It was almost like the door didn't even make a sound. It's hard to explain, like when the world goes suddenly still, right before a storm. That's how I felt the moment I saw them. I was behind the counter, tapping the end of my pen against the desk, trying to focus on my screen. Just another Thursday. Same customers, same routine. Diane, our branch manager, was flipping through some paperwork in the back, and Jared, my best friend, the guy who knew me better than anyone, was across from me, chatting with Mrs. Reed about her grandkids, his laugh booming through the bank like he was trying to cheer up everyone in the place. But then, the door opened. A man in a dark hoodie. Tall, broad-shouldered. His face was half hidden by a black mask, but his posture said everything. It wasn't a casual walk, it was purposeful, like he knew exactly what he was doing. And when his boots hit the floor with that solid thunk, the whole room froze. I looked up, my hand instinctively clutching the counter like it could hold me together. I saw him first, but then I noticed the others. Two more guys slipped in behind him. One was jittery, almost twitching. His eyes darted all over the place like a cornered animal. The third guy, he had the look, the one that made your skin crawl. Calm, too calm, like he was used to being in control. My chest tightened, and my mind went blank. Everything inside me was screaming, telling me to run, to get out, but my feet wouldn't move. I just stood there, and then the leader spoke. "Everyone down." His voice was low, but it sliced through the room like a knife. I swear to God, it's like the whole bank exhaled in unison, a gasp of terror. And before I knew it, the sound of chairs scraping against the floor echoed in the air as customers and co-workers dropped to the ground, hands over their heads. Some people crawled under the desks, others scrambled behind the counters. I glanced at Jared. His face had gone pale, sickly pale. He was no longer joking about Mrs. Reed's grandkids. He was staring wide-eyed at the robbers, his lips trembling. "Stay down, Marty. Stay down," he whispered. He was trying to stay calm, but I could hear the panic in his voice, feel it in the air. My hands were shaking. My fingers couldn't grip the drawer in front of me. I could see the sweat on Jared's forehead, the way his jaw was clenched tight like he was trying to hold it together. And that's when I noticed the man, the leader, moving toward Diane. His footsteps were deliberate, slow, too slow. He wasn't in a rush. He didn't need to be. He was in control. Diane was behind the counter, her hands trembling as she fumbled with her purse. I could see her face, pale, her lips tight like she was holding back tears. She was scared, no doubt, but she was also trying to hold it together. She was older, stronger than I was, but I could still see it in her eyes. The fight-or-flight instinct kicking in. "Open the vault," the leader said, his voice cold, empty. I saw Diane's hands shake as she reached for the keycard, fumbling as she inserted it into the scanner. I couldn't breathe. My throat felt like it was closing up. I wanted to tell her to stop, to do something, but I couldn't even open my mouth. The second guy, the jittery one, he was still pacing back and forth, his eyes darting all over the place. He was watching everyone, his hand twitching on the handle of his gun. I swear, I saw his finger tightening around the trigger. I could feel the tension in the air, thick, like it was pressing down on my chest. His eyes locked on mine for a second, and I almost froze in place. His face was a mask of fear, but there was something else there too. Something violent. And then it happened. A loud bang shattered the air. Diane crumpled forward, her body going limp, slamming against the floor. I didn't even register what had happened at first. I heard the shot, but it didn't make sense. Not until I saw the blood. The crimson pool spreading across the tile beneath her. I don't even remember how I moved. I just remember feeling like I was going to collapse, my legs shaking. My stomach churned like I was going to throw up. I couldn't tear my eyes away from Diane's body, her eyes wide open, staring, unseeing. "No, no, no!" Jared shouted, lunging forward to her. His hands were trembling as he reached for her, like he could somehow bring her back. Like we could all just pretend that this wasn't happening. I heard the leader's voice again. "Get in the vault. Now." Jared didn't listen. He didn't hear him. His eyes were locked on Diane. There was nothing left but that awful silence in his face. I'd seen Jared mad before. I'd seen him upset, frustrated. But this was different. This was raw. His whole body was shaking, his hands still hovering over Diane's lifeless body. But the second guy didn't wait. He pointed the gun, his finger flashing on the trigger. And that's when I heard the second shot. Bang! It hit Jared right in the chest. His body didn't just fall, it collapsed. Like a rag doll, his legs buckling beneath him. He hit the floor with a sickening thud, and the room seemed to go silent for a moment. No one moved. No one said anything. It felt like time slowed down. Jared's body lay there, his eyes wide open, unblinking, staring at me. The light was fading from his eyes, just like it had from Diane's. I couldn't think. I couldn't breathe. The blood was everywhere. His blood. Diane's blood. The leader motioned to the others, his voice cold. "Let's go. Now." They moved fast, in and out, grabbing cash, moving with calculated precision, ignoring the bodies in the room like they were just obstacles in their path. They didn't care. Not about Diane, not about Jared. I was still frozen behind the counter, not even sure if I was still alive, my chest tight with fear, my legs locked in place. I could hear the sirens in the distance, but it felt like they would never arrive. Not in time, not before this nightmare became real. By the time they were gone, the room was a crime scene. But it didn't feel like a crime scene, not yet. It felt like a shattered dream. The robbers were gone, and I was still here, alive. But Jared, he wasn't. Diane, she wasn't. And I had no idea how to make sense of any of it. I looked down at my hands. They were covered in blood. I'm not sure how long I stayed there, not sure when I moved. But I do know this. That day changed everything. I don't know how to put it into words, but I feel it. Every moment since then, I've carried it with me. The fear, the terror, the loss. I don't know if I'll ever be the same. But the worst part, the thing that still haunts me, it wasn't just the violence. It was how easily it all happened. How it all ended in the blink of an eye. And now, every time I close my eyes, I can still hear it. The door opening, the bang, the silence that followed.